Today is April 3rd, and it is my 46th birthday. Now, my birthday has always been important to me, and I don't know if that's weird. Maybe it's important to you, your birthday, but for me, it's a reminder that God does everything in our human existence in time. He has a time for everything, a season, a time to be born, a time to die, a time for love, a time for war, a time for planting, a time for harvesting. And I've always made it, I shouldn't say always, but especially being a homeschool mom, I got to a point where I was like, I need one day a year that is all about me. So maybe that sounds prideful to you, but I need it. So I decided my birthday was a perfect day to make all about me. So I think it started 8 years ago, actually. So I try to reserve my birthday to do things that I want to do, like from the beginning to the end, and kind of pamper myself, spend time with people I want to be with, see a movie I wanted to see, whatever is in this little heart there to do, that's what I do on my birthday. Well, this year's a little different because my options are limited, but I don't feel limited by my options. So what I decided to do last night was start watching TV at like 12:30, midnight. Oh, it was probably 11:30. And I ended up going to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning because I got caught up in this show called, what was it called? Taken at Birth. So this show, Taken at Birth, was a story about a town in Georgia where this doctor had like a baby operation, black market baby operation going on. And all of these people, like 200 people, found out that he was falsifying birth certificates. So where they were adopted, their birth certificates actually claim that their adoptive parents were their birth parents. So there was like no tracing their real history. Why am I talking about that? Well, it got me to thinking about the generations. And this like crime, we'll call it, was able to be committed because the whole town was in on it. Like this doctor was able to get away with things because he was helping the mayor or the police chief or people who were trying to hide the fact that they had conceived like adulterous relationship children, and now they were taking these babies and telling the mom they died or telling them they were getting an abortion when really he was inducing pregnancy and selling the babies for $1,000 each. I know it's creepy, but it just shows you what people are capable of and why the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil, because he was doing it for money and to solve a problem, which was his reputation looking bad. Because I think it started actually with his mistress becoming pregnant. So I was thinking about this because the whole documentary was about these people's need to know the truth. And it got me to thinking about the generations, because this happened in the silent generation. And I was like, aha, the silent generation. These were people who did not talk about things that should not be talked about. They were very secretive, protective of their reputations. So a lot of things were done undercover. And I remember growing up with a grandma, which you can read my blog. I talk about superpowers and this relationship that I had with my grandma, who was actually my great grandma, and of that generation that, well, her daughter would have been of the silent generation. So I don't know what the generation before the silent generation was. Or maybe just because she was older, she, told me all of her secrets. But I remember when I asked questions about the things she told me, that there was a lot of like, you better be quiet, little girl. You better not cause trouble in this family by talking about things that should not be talked about. Keep the skeletons in the closet. And I was like, ooh, okay, well, I don't want to. But then my mom, of course, was a baby boomer, but she was the oldest of 10 kids. So the children that came up under her, I was thinking about this morning because I'm like, why do I feel so much like a millennial? But I was thinking because of my birth order and how old my mom was when she had me, and the fact that my dad was of a much older, not only generation, but mindset, because he was from Greece. So he was first generation. So there's cultural things that come to effect, and then the dynamics of our families that come into effect that determine our personality and our worldview. So the generations are so important. And what I've discovered is like that there is this balancing that happens in the generations. So there was this silent generation. So the next generation, the baby boomers, like opposed silence. And it was like, we're going to do everything just right out in the open, and we're going to be blatant about it, and we're not going to hide, and we're going to tell the truth, and we're not going to wear masks, and we're going to just do it right out in the open. And then Generation X, of course, is going to swing back into the next generation where we're like, well, we need some like balance, or we need some predictability. Like, let's not just flow with every emotion that we have because it's true. Like, there is some discretion or discernment that needs to take place. And then the millennials, go in the opposite direction where they're like, okay, we don't need everything to be dictated to us. We need free will and the ability to choose for ourselves. And there's more than one way to do things. So I feel like I kind of am that Generation X and that millennial combination. And now I have kids, and they're considered Generation Z, which I think is very interesting that, Z is the last letter. And now they're even determining, like, what do we call this next generation kids? And they haven't really decided if they're going to be the I generation or start all over and be the A generation. But the reason that I'm making this video today is because we all need each other. Like, balance is so important. So there's super important things that the silent generation and the baby boomers have to impart to the millennials and even Generation X, so that we have a balance. And this is really why my business is called Inclusions of Grandeur, because I really debated for a long time, like, what am I doing? Am I having delusions of grandeur? Is this even possible? Because I've seen like where I want to go. I've made, written the vision, made it plain, but I have tried with all my might to get there. So am I just delusional? Like, what is the deal? And that's when it was like, no, you're not delusional. It's inclusions of grandeur, because you need the gifts of so many different people to come alongside your gift to make this beautiful thing that is my idea, God's idea, right? He gives us ideas, and then he brings them forth through us, through our cooperation. But being image bearers, he made us to create. He made us to manifest ideas, which is super cool. So I got this microphone, and I was like, I'm going to use this microphone, and I'm going to make a video that's even higher quality. And that's where I tripped myself up. I talked about not putting makeup on because anytime I like stop in the process of doing something, it brings so much like complication that it causes me to stop in my tracks and not complete the task at hand. So this is where I want to say, and just maybe leave you with an encouragement, like, do what you can. I really believe as we move forward that what we need will come to us when we need it, and that sometimes we think we need way more than we actually need. And it's like, no, use what you have in your hands, and when it's time for you to learn how to use the microphone, I'll bring somebody to help you, which I happen to have given birth to 3 people who can help me. They just don't want to. So I can't change their minds. So that's where I also have to trust the Lord. Like, Lord, you're the one who leads the man's heart. You can turn a man's heart. So maybe someday my kids will say, Mom, we want to help you. And I look forward to that day. And wouldn't it be great if it even happened on my 46th birthday?